The Pittsburgh Steelers have made some changes to this roster, signing one player, releasing one other, and potentially elevating one player to the active roster. Also, the NFL has suspended a Pittsburgh Steelers player for 5 games for violating their policies. But first, before I get more into this, however, make sure you subscribe to the channel for notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also like this video. Now, let's get right into it. So, I'm going to start off with the NFL suspending Steelers defensive lineman Daniel Ekuale for 5 games. Because this came as a shock, because the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive lineman Daniel Ekuale, he is on injured reserve with a torn ACL. So he's already going to be out for the season. But now the NFL has suspended him on Tuesday for a violation of the league's performance and enhancing substances policy. According to Gary Dulac, Ekuale was hit with a 5-game suspension without pay for the PED's violation that he committed. So Ekuale is allowed to serve his 5-game suspension while he is on injured reserve, but he'll be without pay for over the next 5 weeks. So the veteran defense lineman, he will lose out on about $325,000 due to this suspension, and obviously that means the Pittsburgh Steelers will save that money due to the cap space. So, looking at Ekuale, he was previously signed on a 1-year contract, and he was a solid pickup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this season, he kind of helped in the run defense. When he was on the field, things looked a little bit better for the run defense, and he was coming over from New England, which the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be getting a lot of players from on the defense side of the ball. So, he tore his ACL in the Sunday Night Football loss in Week 8 to the Green Bay Packers, and now will he be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers next season? Well, we're going to have to wait and see what his free agency looks like. He's now hit with this 5-game suspension, and it's a shame because now he won't get paid while he's on injury reserve. So, looking at the next kind of update that we have in terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is now going to be a roster update, and this is more so the practice squad, because the Pittsburgh Steelers have made some kind of changes to their roster on the practice squad by signing John Rhys Plumlee to the squad, and in a corresponding move, having to release a player, and they released safety Jack Henderson. So when looking at Rhys Plumlee, he's a player who is a quarterback, but then he was also a player who could play as a wide receiver, and he's been more so as a quarterback in terms of practices for the Steelers, but he's a player who's been on and off this practice squad quite a few times now, and it just seems as though he's a player the Pittsburgh Steelers want to have, but also are willing to cut to see what they have in someone else. So they just keep on cutting him, bringing him back, cutting him, bringing him back. So this is nothing special here in terms of the signing. However, a player who is on the practice squad in terms of Asante Samuel Jr. may be a big acquisition that the Pittsburgh Steelers have on the practice squad, because he may be elevated to the main roster here shortly. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they signed him a few weeks back after he suffered kind of a spine infusion, which he had to go through, and he was fully cleared for contact. Many teams tried him out. Many teams brought him in for an interview. He could sign with any team, but he picked the Steelers. And the Steelers knew that he was a few weeks off when they signed him from actually being able to play in games and get up to speed with this defense, get up to speed in terms of being back in the NFL practice, being brought back into cardio, everything like that. So the Steelers knew what they were signing when they brought him in a few weeks ago. And he's been working his tail off to get ready to play for the Steelers. He's been a big player in this league for the Chargers, and he's had interceptions, 2 interceptions in basically every single year he's played in the league. So he's been a high quality cornerback, and now Mike Tomlin says that Asante Samuel Jr. may get some looks this week on defense. Here's his quote here. "We're always, open to our practice squad guys elevating, particularly those with the resume like Samuel's. And so, he's only been here a short period of time. He's been working his tail off to not only get into football conditioning, but learn what to do. And it's been a good endeavor so far, and it's too early in the week for me to speculate in that regard." End quote. So it may look like Asante Samuel Jr. may be getting a look on this defense here shortly, especially because he's a big name player. And we know Mike Tomlin, like he said in this quote, likes big name players. That's the reason why Darius Slay keeps on seeing the field week after week, even though he's not playing good, because he's a big name player. That's why guys in the past, like Patrick Peterson, when he wasn't playing good, kept seeing the field because of his name. So Steelers bring in players in the offseason free agency, trade for players like Jalen Ramsey because of their name, being a big-time player. So Asante Samuel Jr. is going to be no different. And Mike Tomlin basically just said that himself in his quotes. But also, not even just for that reason, because he's actually a solid cornerback. He's still only around 25 years old, 26 years old. So he still has a lot left in the tank. He's not one of these guys who are in his 30s and he's past his prime and things like that. No, he suffered an injury. It was a setback for him, but now he got right and now he's working his way back. So he's fully cleared and he can actually help this team. It's not like this quarterback room is good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have guys rotating in and out. They have James Pierre, who's an undrafted guy who hasn't really been good for the first 3-4 years of his career in terms of a starting cornerback. Now have to move into the starting cornerback role because he's probably the second or best cornerback on this roster right now. So he's been stepping up and he's played absolutely amazing so far this season. But when you look at the Steelers cornerback room, if you have a player like him as your first or second best cornerback, with guys like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and Brendan Eccles, Joey Porter Jr. on your team, then that's kind of a shame because those are the top guys. Those guys are supposed to be the best, but when they're not playing good, that means that there's other guys who could come in and take their spots. And that's why Asante Samuel Jr. is a player who could come in, get elevated, and take a role right away on this team because Darius Slay hasn't been playing good at cornerback. Because Jalen Ramsey hasn't been playing good at cornerback, so they have to move him to safety. Because these other players are stepping up into a new role. Asante Samuel Jr. might get a chance to perform this week, and he'll actually have an impact on this team. If he can be a player who could come in and be the number 2 cornerback or be a starting cornerback on this team, that's the best case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, but also for moving forward as well. Because that means then you would have a player next to Joey Porter Jr. who you know is a starting cornerback for this team for many more years until he doesn't hit his prime anymore and until he starts going downhill like some other players. And that means that you could use Darius Slay or James Pierre in short stints or certain instances instead of having to play them all the time. And same thing with Jalen Ramsey. Instead of having to play him at cornerback when injuries happen, it seems like a lot with Joey Porter Jr. with a hip injury. We don't even know if we'll be playing in this week's game, by the way. So that's another reason Asante Samuel Jr. may get elevated because Joey Porter Jr. missed like the second part of last week's game with a hip injury, and he's questionable this week. And also Darius Slay is just coming back from injury. So injuries keep happening to this group. So the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers keep dealing with injuries, that's another reason to give Asante Samuel Jr. a look. And it's the best case scenario for the Steelers if he does perform, because like I said, it allows them to use those players in certain instances and also allows the Steelers to keep Jalen Ramsey at safety and not have to move him around when these injuries happen. More depth at the cornerback position is best. And moving forward, if he could be the starter for the next few years next to Joey Porter Jr., that's the best case scenario. But we'll never know unless he gets a chance. So he may be getting a chance this week. So expect maybe an elevation for him and some roster changes there. But anyway, this is your Pittsburgh Steelers updates. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on everything covered. Daniel Ekuale's 5-game suspension by the NFL, but also the signing to the practice squad, the releasing in the practice squad, but also maybe the elevation of Asante Samuel Jr. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel for notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports. Everything surrounding this team I have you covered all season long, doesn't matter what it is. Could be highlights, analysis right after the game, or news and updates just like this for your Pittsburgh Steelers. So subscribe, share the video, like the video, and until next video tomorrow, I'll see you guys all later. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace.